Are you a manager who is eager to change the trajectory of your career? I have spent the last 23 years as a Fortune 50 leader learning from other industry leaders how to break free from limiting beliefs and habits. On the Might in Motion podcast, we focus on the 4 M's: motivation, momentum, mindfulness, and might. We bring you leaders from Fortune companies, doctors, and entrepreneurs. Their stories of living their own might in motion will inspire you to create your own action plan and achieve your goals. Welcome to Might in Motion. Today's episode of Might in Motion is brought to you by Pantheon FM, Fortunes Magnified. Pantheon FM is changing the world through entrepreneurship. In this community, you will find everything you need to create, amplify, and monetize your world-changing business. Join us at pantheon.community/register/LAUA. I am stoked to bring you Steve Ramona. He found out networking was the real deal at a very young age. He's on a mission to teach the world how to properly network. His passion for the law of increase is his secret sauce. Podcasting now is the new way to network and build an incredible inner circle. If you haven't listened to his podcast, you need to, because it is an amazing way to really dive into being a servant leader. Steve, welcome to Might in Motion.
I'm fired up to be here.
Oh, I'm so excited because we connected through a mutual friend a few months ago. And then I joined Pantheon, which I know is a sponsor of your show, or sponsor of my show. So we're both big fans of Pantheon FM. And you've done some amazing things. You're in my ears like every single week. So I want to hear a little bit more about your story and how you decided to get into podcasting and why a podcast about servant leadership.
Well, let's start back at 18. I just got done with high school. My family had just launched a health club. And my cousin, he's my brother, I call him my brother, said, why don't you come work for the summer, as a kid, I'm 18, I need to make some money. So he hired me to work the front desk. And what I learned, I started developing relationships with 40, 50, 60-year-olds. They come in and work out. Hey, Tony, have a great workout. Hey, Tony, have a great day. And then you start, hey, where'd you go this weekend, Steve? Hey, Tony, how was your trip? You start building these friendships. But now they become business people that start giving me tips. And one story is, I tell all my shows I'm on, is Tony came in one day and he says, hey, kid, this rough Italian guy, but he was dealing with like multiple millions of dollars of money to help. He's a financial advisor. He said, I want you to read this book. I said, well, what's that, Tony? Yeah. He says, The Wealthy Barber. It's about 60 pages. He's got his gruff voice. I said, sure, I'll get it. I got it. The next week he came in and he goes, hey, did you read that book? I said, yeah, what a great idea. So what you're telling me is take 10% of my income and stick it away somewhere forever till you really need it. Just keep putting it in every month, which I started doing. So time went on. I turned 30, and something in my mind that day was, let's look at this bank account. I may have looked at it, but there's 10, 15,000. I looked, there was $58,000 in there. Now remember, this is back in 79 when I think minimum wage was $5, $6. I don't remember, but it's a lot less than it was. Yeah, so it kept compounding, which you mentioned earlier. So I called him because I still had his number, and I said, Tony, I want to thank you. What's up, kid? He goes, I have $58,000 in there. He said, say, kid, 95% of my clients wouldn't listen. 3 guys would be billionaires now if we would have listened to me. Thank you for listening. I said, hey, what do I owe you? I'll send you $1,000. I mean, this is great. He goes, all you owed me was reading that book and following it.
Yeah.
And Mariana, what it taught me was, one, networking. I connected with Tony, became a friend. Serving, he served me. I mean, like $1,000 wasn't, he was retired. He was fine. He had enough money. He could have taken him and fine. But the idea was giving value. But his win was he was so excited that somebody would listen, some kid would listen to him. And I was like, there's something to this networking serving thing. And then our culture in the health club was customer service. Your towels, we teach this trick. And this is great if you have an admin audience sitting at a table in a brick and mortar business. If they don't know somebody's name, just look on the computer and go, hey, Mariana, welcome.
Yeah.
Always try to remember somebody's name, at least acknowledge them. But we would tell cheat and look on the computer if you don't remember who it was. It's been a month since they've been there. Just
Yeah.
that little thing changed the culture of our health club. You need to go there. They're great people. Just remember names. We did much more than that. So I learned a lot of lessons through my cousin Jeff and my family about how to really take care of your customer.
Yeah, that customer piece is huge. And we talked about this a little bit in the green room beforehand, right? When you have a customer base, this could be you own a retail establishment, you're an entrepreneur selling, items, etc. You could be incorporated in America like myself. Everybody has a customer. Your customer might be that person coming in and giving you cash. Your customer could be your team, right? And so that mindset is just so critical. And it's amazing you learned that at a young age. It's so beneficial. What advice may you have for somebody that didn't learn it at 16 like you did, right? Maybe hasn't worked retail and had to deal with somebody literally in their face yelling at them. Are there any tricks or tips you have to help somebody that might be in their middle of their career, they've just become a manager of people, that they could leverage?
Great question, Marianne. That's a great question. I feel serving's a mindset. It's a habit. When we talk about habits and mindset, you need to practice those. So audience, here's one thing I'll put out there. And then you reach back out to Mariana when you listen to this podcast and tell her how you did. Start on Monday, and every person virtually and in person that you meet, give them the law of increase. Think and Grow Rich was my next level of serving once I read the law of increase. And I want you to write it down in a journal. And a quick sale note, I'm building a journal that people could buy from me and get really cheap. But write it down. I helped Joe at the grocery store put his groceries in the cart. I went to the doctor and I told her she had a beautiful haircut today. Value and serving comes in many different forms. Do it for a week. And if you forget somebody, don't worry, but keep it in your mind. And then Friday in the afternoon, I want you to write down how you felt, how the person you serve felt, and how much your week changed.
Yeah.
There's death and taxes 100% guaranteed. I think when you serve people at the end of that week, you're going to have an uplift of energy.
I think it's amazing you said that, because I have that in my book as well as a challenge to people. I have done this challenge. I've done it as part of kind of the Live Hard program. Many people have done 75 Hard, the Live Hard program. There's a piece that literally is about that, about doing something for others. And it's huge, right? You really begin to see how much value you have as a person because you've helped somebody else, and even they might not even know it, right? Like I walk every day, and sometimes it's just me picking up sticks that are in my neighbor's yard. They haven't seen the sticks yet because they're not up at 4 or 5 in the morning doing their walk, but I do. So I'm just going to do it so my neighbor doesn't have to do it, right? And that just, I don't know, it just goes such a long way for your own well-being, right? And that mindfulness that was in my intro is so important, and then it transcends to other people.
Absolutely. What you just said, that story is so beautiful, because audience, what you need to listen to this is she didn't tell anybody. They didn't see her, because the universe is invisible. When you did that, it gets put out energy in the universe. I believe that. I'll tell audience why in a minute. That's what we do. Serving is not something that I give you a cup of water, you give me a cup of water. It's not transactional. That's word. Serving is a mindset habit that you do. Even at the hardest times, trying to figure out when you're in an argument, how can I serve somebody in this argument? How can I make this better? Not easy to do, but I've got this superpower. Every person I meet, I bring value to them. And a lot of times referrals, I did, I think 3,000 referrals last year. I'll hit 4,000 this year. Now, I have a large network. If you don't have a large network, that's fine. There's so many things you can do to serve and bring a law of increase. Your kids, your husband, your wife, your, a friend. Here's another thing to do. Here's a great skill. And I'll tell you a story. When you're having a bad day, stop and go serve. And here's what happened. It was a couple years ago, 2:00, couple no's, one person showed for a meeting. We all have those days. It started going down that black hole. So I just shut down. I don't usually do that. And went to the grocery store to get groceries. And I'm standing in line, and there's a lady with a baby, turned to the clerk and said, "Hey, I want to buy their groceries. Here's my credit card." 21-year-old guy looked at me like, "Dude, that's uncool. Why would you do that?" I said, "Got a spirit. I just want to do it. The universe is telling me. Can you just do me a favor?" "Sure." And she's like, "Oh, no, no." I said, "Just let me do it." It was 30 or $40. Here's the crazy. Two things happen. So I pay for it. I pay for I'm walking out with her, and she starts crying. She goes, "Steve, my husband just lost his job last week. We were not sure how we are going to get where this money was going to come from. We're struggling. That $40 is going to carry us for a couple of days." Now, it's great that I did that. That's serving, but here's the serving loop that you need to stay connected with. Is what's she going to do when she goes home, Mariana? "Hey, I met this Steve guy. He just bought our groceries. I don't know who he is. He said it was a," whatever she tells them. What's their mindset going to be? Who do we serve?
Yeah.
Now, not all the time, but we've brought positive energy. Something's going to happen because I changed their universe. My universe changed. Keep in mind when you serve people, you're changing lives. It could be huge like that. We just don't know. But if you don't take the action to serve, you just never know.
And when you listen to that little still small voice, I believe it's God, but that, not everybody might believe that, but I do believe that when you listen to it for those little things, it tunes you in to hearing bigger things. Right.
Yep.
So and it literally could be little teeny tiny things. And so I have 2 kids. So my husband and I both we're trying to lead by example too. Right. So that they see, you can pick up after somebody else. If you see somebody drop something, help them out, because if they learn that skill set now, when they're in their 20s, 30s, 40s, hopefully by that point it's become ingrained.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Now, I love your podcasts. Like I mentioned in the green room, you're in my ear when I work out, at least 1 or 2 times a week, depending on how much catching up I got to do. And it's that whole servant's mindset, right? So the title of your podcast is Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. I pride myself on creating ride or die teams where, I want to serve my team. I want to make sure they're taken care of. I want to make sure that, hey, if you need to take time because you've got a family emergency, a medical issue, go do it. Like, don't, we'll take care of it. The team will come together and take care of it. What drove you to create this podcast, and what's maybe one of the biggest aha moments that you've had since interviewing? Because you've done, how many podcasts have you done so far?
I'm on 184.
Okay. Almost 200 podcasts. That's huge. So you've got to have some big nuggets in there. So why did you start doing this 184 episodes ago? And what's been one of your biggest moments?
Well, when I met Pantheon and Kyle, who we're both good friends with, one thing he said during our conversation was, we want 1,000 of the best thought leaders in the world that want to change the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I'm all in. I've always had this mission at the health club and all these people I met. And then I run networking groups. And, as I'm serving, I just thought the podcast, I've always been thinking about DIY in it on YouTube. I knew it wasn't going to be the best. So again, I'm with you. God's blessing. My client, Doug Cornwell, who reached out to me, and thank God for Doug. I owe him every time I talk to him. I tell him that. I started in October. So that's September. I started October 1st. I remember. And Tuesday was my first meeting with Josh, who's our mentor and is owner of Pantheon. And I said, what do I need to do? And he just said, just start recording.
Mm-hmm.
And it was first one. I did this as I'm recording. 1, 2, 3. I'm clapping. I'm talking. And I start the show. I look back, my friend. But you get better the more you do. That's why I just kept recording.
Yeah.
Plus, when you do a podcast, it's the Godfather phrase. It's an offer you can't refuse.
Yeah.
Because the listener wins, the guest wins,
mm-hmm.
and I win as a host.
Yeah.
We know a listener wins if they get I tell people with a podcast, and you're the same way, Mariana. That's why I love what you do. I'm so excited to be here. If you motivate, inspire, and educate somebody on a podcast, do one of those 3, all the 3 of those, your listeners got to win.
Yes.
You're promoting your guest, so they've got to win. You're edifying. You're learning about their passions, their desires, their problems, their pain point. So it's like doing a one-on-one for 5 hours because it's all about them and you get to learn about them. What's great about that? I can now serve them when I get done. So next 20 minutes, I can go, hey, Marianne, you told me this and this. I mean, I just did it with you today. I gave you 3 referrals and it's your show.
Right.
But if you shut up and listen, people are going to give you nuggets of how you can serve them.
Right.
So just listen. The other aha moment is the ability to build this network. Now, I'm helping people with their podcast. I'm starting a coaching program. I say now, because I run 6 groups, networking groups, I think they're great. But the podcasting is the next level network. Let's think about it. When you walk into a networking group, you've been there, I've been there. We don't know who's going to be there. It might be the same people. Maybe it's one new person. Maybe you connect, maybe you don't. But when I bring a guest or you bring a guest on your podcast, you know what you're getting. And guess what? You get to delve into their network because you've given them so much value. You've served them. 99.9% of the time they go, how can I help you? I need this, this, and this. Mm-hmm. And I get 3 to 5 referrals a day because of my podcast and because of my guests. Building great rapport, serving, law of increase, law of reciprocity. I just said it right. I usually don't say it right. It must be a good day. So it's exciting. I've met 2 billionaires. I've never a billionaire in my life. I had a billionaire call me and say, I want to work with you. I heard about your podcast. He owns a network marketing company. And he talked to me for an hour about what he was doing. I let him serve. I shut up and listened. I said, we could definitely help you. Next day, we're connecting with them and we're probably going to work with them in October. So it's also a lead generator for your business. Because guess what? We promote Pantheon. I love that you said that. Well, Pantheon's not paying anything. We're part of it. But we get, if we bring somebody on, we've got that affiliate program. That's the other side of it. I build up so many great relationships. When I refer a client to them, they pay me. I got $3,000 3 weeks ago because I referred a client to somebody. Yeah. Who wouldn't want a side gig like that?
Right.
Promoting somebody, having fun, helping your listeners. It's inexpensive.
I love it. I love it. And, even if, some people might be listening and saying, well, how does this relate to me being, a new manager? Or how does it relate to me in corporate America? I'm not going to get paid $3,000 because I made a referral. Okay, well, let's just wait a minute. You have an opportunity every day when you go to work to network, which means somebody comes to you and they have a problem. If you listen, like Steve was saying, right, and you listen, you'll start to understand how can I give value to that person. And that may mean, hey, I'm going to connect this person A to person B, okay? And then they help each other. Well, next time person B has a problem, they're like, well, I talked to Steve last time and he knew so-and-so. I wonder if he knows anybody else. And it just grows from there. And then when that promotion opportunity comes or the opportunity to maybe move laterally and get more experience comes, now you've created a network of people that are now your community. So I kind of think of Pantheon as a community, right? Because everybody's serving each other. Your work becomes a community. Like, I don't necessarily believe in the whole, we're a family at work. No, most families are dysfunctional, right? I want a community at work. Right. So all the things that Steve just talked about and what he's doing in his podcast and giving and giving and giving. And then that in turn creates a return of investment back to him. It's the same thing you can do in your corporate career.
Yeah. And the universe changes. We talked about in the green room. That billionaire called because I help so many people. The universe says, hey, however the universe works, that opportunity comes to you. And I met another gentleman. He's a Super Bowl champion. I'm going to Tim Wright. He's not been on my show yet, but through my podcast, Shirley Jump, who introduced me, she's not even on my podcast yet, but knows a guest that was on my podcast. So it went 3 levels. Well, Tim Wright, I'm working with now, has developed a headset like this, but it's open ear that deaf people can now hear. Think about that.
Cool.
Literally can hear and listen to music. And I brought him, actually today, he's in Chicago, securing some investment because of my connections.
Mm-hmm.
You know how good that makes me feel, audience? Get in money. I can help be part of help deaf people here, and I'm going to get them on my podcast.
Yeah. That's awesome.
It's powerful.
That's really powerful stuff. We've got a lot of young leaders that tend to tune into this, and you had a long career before you started doing this. What's some advice that you wish you had gotten when you first maybe started leading other people? You're like, man, I wish I'd gotten it, and I wish I had listened to it. Sometimes we get a lot of advice, and we're like, no, I could do it better.
Great question.
Like, maybe I should have listened.
Yeah, and I should have. The first one is shut up and listen. I'll say it again. Podcast has taught me that if you want to be a good podcast host, you're going to listen to your guest so you can ask the next question. Like my guest this morning, she's got 7 kids. Well, that's incredible. Absolutely incredible. The other thing that I love telling people is get better 1% every day. So if you're listening to this a year later, which you probably will because she's got a great podcast, Mariana, or it's September 19, 2023. So there's about 2.5 months. Let's say there's 100 days approximately. Mm-hmm. You get better today, tomorrow, 1%, little bit of piece of the elephant. You're 100% better by January 1st, 2024. Audience, I want you to reach out to me and tell me, are you going to be better? Are you going to grow? Are you going to make more money? Are you going to help more people? And are you going to be happy? Is your family going to be happy if you have a family?
Yeah.
1% every day.
Whatever
that is.
And reach out to him on LinkedIn. We're going to drop everything in the show notes like we always do, and we'll cover it at the end. But you follow Steve, right? Drop him a direct message. I guarantee you he will get back to you. Yep. So if you could go back and give yourself advice 10 years ago, go on your Wayback Machine and say, man, if I could have talked to Steve 10 years ago, what would I have told him, knowing what you know now?
Yeah, the big lesson that I learned was serving also means that you can earn, that you can get abundance. I think I gave away $2 to $3 million worth of value. And I'm not saying that from a cocky standpoint. I'm not upset at all because the lessons I learned, I am here today doing better than I ever have in my life and building these relationships. And my 2024 is going to be unbelievable. But there's something a billionaire told me about 3 or 4 months ago. The first one I met was he served and made billions of serving, made billions of dollars. I forget what he did, but just having that mentality. But he says there's a loop there. You just did half a circle. I served Mariana, and it just happened in the green room with us. You asked me, how can I help? Never, ever, audience, say, and I used to say this all the time, I'm good. Here's the referrals. Go get them. Because I just slapped you in your face.
Yeah.
That's a little strong, but it's like, okay, you know what? You gave me all, I feel guilty. It's that now you got this negative emotion that destroys all the serving positivity that you've built.
Yeah.
So you might say, can I be a guest? You have a great book. That's always good. And that's another way to serve. I read this book, The Daily Stoic, with my friends, 2 best friends. We read it, we text. I'm a little behind, but we'll talk about it. It's an incredible book, by the way, audience, The Daily Stoic. If you're not familiar with it, it's like 2 paragraphs a day. It's dated. So every day it's Seneca and Marcus Aurelius, the philosophers, the Greek philosophers. It's all their teachings. If you want to learn to serve at an advanced level, that book will help you.
That's cool. I'll put it on my list.
Yeah, definitely put it on your list. But that's a big thing that I wish. If I knew back then, I probably never would have met you. So God's plan is learning. I'm here with you, Mariana, on the podcast, and we're going to do other things together. But now when you serve, if somebody asks you, and remember, money's energy.
Yes. Yeah.
Got to bring it back and forth. That's what it's made to do. It's not made to hold on and hide. And same with your information. And here's another tip. I don't do this, but I hear a lot of people do. I'm not going to give them the secrets of my business. And they do this like, oh, no, give it to them. Yeah. Again, you're bringing value, but nobody's going to replicate what you did. My dad told me at a very young age, don't recreate the wheel if it's been created already.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You built $1 million business doing that.
I'm an engineer by education, and I will tell you, what I remember I had a professor, he's like, industrial engineers are meant to be lazy. like we want to improve processes, we make things more efficient, take less energy, yada, yada, yada. And that means if something works, okay, then it works. Great. Can you maybe make it a little bit better? Can you put your own spin on it? Sure. But you don't need to have to go and rebuild everything. It's so yeah, I wholeheartly agree with that.
Yeah. My dad was an engineer too, civil engineer. So you guys are on the same path.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a generational one. My dad was an engineer. My grandfather was an engineer. It was in my blood, I guess. I don't know.
Go.
So, but I like to write copious amounts of notes. So some of the things that I took down on this, first of all, a few books. Think and Go Rich, which I have read as well, and it is a great book. And The Daily Stoic were two that I wrote down that I think, I love reading, right? So I encourage everybody to read 10 minutes a day or 10 pages a day, whichever one is easier for you to do. And you'll be amazed at how much you get through in a year. So many people haven't read a book since high school. Just open a book. It's there. All the information is there for you to go and learn and glean. So love those two. I also love this is to me a golden nugget. I got to take this personally too, is serving means you can still earn. It doesn't mean that you can't make a profit from helping others. It doesn't mean you're taking advantage of others, even though you're earning from helping others. So I love that. Networking is around giving value. And you can challenge the audience, right? Hey, write down something that you did every day to add value to somebody else's life. That could be tangible. It could be something they don't even know you did, but write that down and then reflect on it at the end of the week on how that made you feel. And just to listen. So this applies to networking. It applies to leading a team. Listen to what people are telling you and then provide value back by helping them. So those are some of my big nuggets that I took away today, Steve. This has been phenomenal. It's always nice when somebody I listen to all the time is here in person. What are some of the best ways, though, for people to reach you? Because I know you want to connect with people one-on-one or in your networking groups or whatever. So what's the best way for people to connect with you?
Well, I'd love for you to jump on that link for Pantheon. Or jump on Mariana's League, join our community, and LinkedIn. I'm on there all the time, and come to my podcast, listen to my podcast. The great thing is they're free, and between Mariana's and mine, you're going to learn something, learn life, because I'm going to let you in a secret. Nobody knows yet, but I'm going to announce it today. I'm looking at doing a podcast, doing life with a servant's heart.
Oh, yeah.
They're interchangeable, business. And because some people go, hey, I'm not a business. Well, they carry over each other, but I think down the road, I've got to do doing business with life, and bringing that component. So keep in mind, life and business, they go together. The work-life balance, it's a hard thing to do, but just serving, bring them together. Serve your family, serve your employees, serve the people you work with, and you'll be good.
I love it. This has been great. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. I know my audience is going to get a ton out of it. I just really appreciate you being here today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into Might in Motion. If you learned something about motivation, momentum, mindfulness, or might, please like, comment, and share. Thank you.